Well, good morning, brothers and sisters in Christ. Pastor Mike here. It is August 4th. I'm doing my weekly check in as we start another week. It has already been an interesting week, a lot going on. Hopefully, this finds you well, which is actually the first thing I'm thinking about. I have a couple things in my check in that just been in the back of my head. One is hopefully you guys are still doing what you need to take care of yourselves. No, even at the beginning of this, I've encouraged people to do that, but even more so now. We've been doing this for a bit of time, and we struggle with normals and changes in normals. And what is the next normal going to be? Are we going back to normals, going to other normals? I just really want to say normal a lot. But a lot going on, and amidst that, and possibly hard decisions. Numerous people are in different spots. Parents with kids trying to figure out what does a school year look like. Teachers trying to figure out what's the school year supposed to look like. Uh, College kids looking to go back, looking at what is college going to look like. Again, other folks, parents, grandparents, may be called into different realities because of what their kids will be going through. It is an interesting time. And amidst all of those things, as your pastor and as a pastor, part of me keeps thinking, make sure to stay grounded. That is why I do what I do and make sure that we have these video options, these online options, these different worship options, even on Sunday, to make sure that you are able to stay connected to God, where you get the ground and source of your being, strength, and peace, and all those things. I'm not saying staying grounded is easy. I'm saying it's healthy, it's necessary, it's good. And so even as different phases happen, as maybe one way that you've been doing it is getting harder, maybe you need to switch gears. But take seriously trying to make sure that if devotions have been good, maybe try a new devotional book. Try to make sure maybe you can incorporate some more music into that. If you like the Bible study and you're looking for other studies maybe that you can do amidst yourself or other options for even say an email devotion, more than happy to look at those things. But hopefully you are continuing to do what's necessary for your spiritual well-being, because this can take a toll on us. I mean, it's funny. A lot of the realities we find ourselves in, they yeah, they do things to us. We have to live with the reality of Zoom exhaustion now. I know I'm a little bit burned out from Zoom. If I don't have to do Zoom for a while, God bless, but that's not the case. Um, it's a great tool, but if it's your only tool, it gets a little bit exhausting. And it's funny to say that, but that is why we need to talk about doing what we need to do to be healthy amidst these things. And hopefully you are able to do that. But again, as always, the church is here, in my humble opinion, to be a community and a place to ground and guide people, to be spiritually healthy and to be the people God has called and created them to be. And the context for that is just weird right now. And so we still find the way. Which goes to one of my interesting meditations, is this. We have a lot of interesting readings these Sundays, which is always hard because I only try to preach on one, uh, because I've discovered that if I try to shoehorn every lesson into my sermon, the sermon is either A, long and people check out and they miss parts they might need, or two, I don't do any of it justice. So I've often found that focusing on a text, trying to do justice to that text, is usually the safest and healthiest way to go. But these weeks are hard when you got a lot of good texts. It's always a nice week when there's one text that you really like, so you're clearly going to preach on that. This one, we have a wonderful, wonderful lesson from Romans, a great lesson from Matthew, and our first lesson dealing with Elijah is beautiful and one of my favorites. Uh, I am going to talk about that on Sunday some, but our Bible study will also do Matthew. But I have often uh, thought about this Matthew text, and this might be a good second point in kind of relation to the first. The Matthew text for this Sunday is interesting. It's about Jesus walking on the water, which is wonderful. It is a great text, and usually when I preach about it, I talk about um, what that means to us, about who Jesus is as this one that meets us in the midst of our voyage, our sailing, all these sorts of things. But in this moment of time, I'm more interested in Peter. Uh, One of the great parts of this story, and this is Matthew, the 14th chapter, is when Pete is so excited that Jesus is doing this. And I love Peter. Throughout a lot of the Gospels, he is an individual who I have this both frustration and endearment with. He seems like that guy that acts before he thinks. Just seems to be his modus operandi until after Jesus rises. But it's great in the fact that he sees Jesus walking on the water, and his first response is, "Hey, I want to walk on the water too," which is always kind of amusing to me. When you say Jesus performing a miracle, many people are astounded, they're amazed, praise, thanksgiving. Peter's like, "Let's do it." He's ready to jump over the side of the boat and go. God bless his enthusiasm. Uh, but he runs into this hiccup. Christ calls him, "Yeah, come on out in the water." He digs Pete, and Pete goes out there, and they're walking, and it's this amazing moment where Pete, faith and trust are rewarded in some ways. But all of a sudden, he takes his eyes off the prize. As he's walking, he gets a little bit freaked out by some of the winds and the waves, and his focus shifts. And all of a sudden, he starts sinking. And of course, Christ is there. And the hands that always reach out to pull us out of the morass we often find ourselves in are there. And he gets him in the boat. And then even after that, Christ calms the storm, which is always the amazing reality of Christ. But this is a reminder for us. And I think even segueing from, are you staying healthy? Part of the spiritual health and why I encourage the devotion to these things is the simple truth of keep your eyes on Jesus. That's what wrecked Peter there. He lost focus. He lost his central focus. We as people, and I talk to confirmation kids about this, we have to have focuses. We have to, in some ways, have prime, faith in God and focus on that. And being clear about our focus sometimes as Christians as we move forward is key. There's a lot of things in the world that call for our focus. There are a lot of the winds and the waves. And sometimes our anxiety can knock down our focus. Sometimes too much information can knock down our focus. Not because of what the information is, it's just there's so much going on and you get to be in the spot of the squirrel. There's just too much overload. Keeping your eyes on God through Christ is important and key. And that is the encouragement, not as a guilt thing. A lot of times, encouragement and those sorts of things can be viewed as guilt. Well, why aren't you? I'm Pastor Mike. You need to do that. No, it is that reminder because I know how reality works. I know that things call to us. And the reminder is, hey, don't forget that in this is how you can stay grounded in health by keeping focused on Christ. What Christ is doing, what Christ is calling you to do and be, and staying grounded in that. That is the encouragement that I give. Not judgment, not guilt, but encouragement. And even in that, when you do keep your eyes, it'll see you through a lot of things. Which brings me kind of my interesting third meditation. Very Trinitarian today. I was looking through some of my notes, checking on some things, cleaning up after a funeral yesterday, and I realized something. That 8 years ago today, in the morning, was the first worship service I led at Emmanuel Lutheran Church. 4 years ago was my first Sunday, August 4th, if my notes are correct. Which is wild. 8 years, man. 8 years. And here is, again, maybe the tool to help keep our eyes on the prize. 8 years I've been here. What has happened? We've had a lot of interesting things, haven't we? One, I've had a new kid within the space of 8 years. It was pretty early after I showed up, let's be honest, but that little maniac is now 7. 7. How many other babies have been born? How many other tinies? How many of our loved ones have I been able to lay to rest? How many of you have I married? Right? And we've had wild moments. We've had hard moments, we've had great moments, fun moments. We've tried new things, we've done all these things. We've had a new roof, a new boiler, a new elevator. In 8 years, we find ourselves at maybe the middle, maybe the end, maybe still the beginning of the reality of COVID. I don't know. But throughout it all those things, and even the 150 years, the pastors that have been here before me, Joe's time, Joe did great. We can remember guys like Leaf. All these individuals that have come before me, and all these things, there have been moments, there have been diseases in the 150 years. But I honestly think the reason that the church has stayed in that course, and God bless all who have contributed to this, is keeping focused on Jesus, keeping grounded in how do we stay healthy? How do we stay as the people God called us to be in this community, to be in this world, maybe not of it, but in it, and to stay healthy, to stay focused. And it's interesting to think about all those things for 8 years and what the next years upon years will bring. Who knows? Who knows what 2021 will have? Who knows what 2022 will have? Who knows what happens when my kids start going off to college? God knows. But he calls us through it all, through those ups and downs, strikes and gutters, storms and stillness, to keep focused on him. So blessings, brothers and sisters. Thanks for 8 good years so far. There will be more. It will be good. Do not lose focus or sight on the crucified and risen one and where he continues to guide us and call us. Amen.